Highlight Fights heads to the #1 pro mixed martial arts promotion in Northern Virginia. It's time for the stars we've seen rise on the amateur fight scene to take their game to the next level on Highlight Fights. I was born to strike, born to fight. There ain't nothing more to life but to get in the ring, starting to swing. Call me the king, living the dream life. Nobody can stop me. The people they watch me on TV and I see who I'm born to be. I'm a warrior. Don't go to war with me. Our fight night kicks off with two crafty fighters looking to set a precedent for a night destined to become one of the greatest fight nights in the history of the promotion. Marty is first to set it off with an array of crisp strikes. When Brandon tries to mix it up, Marty replies with constant attacks against the cage until he secures the takedown. Brandon fights with his long legs to latch in on submissions. Marty defends the technique with raw strength. Brandon's escape attempts get stuffed, and he gets punished for his efforts. Marty manages to split Brandon's guard and work the pass as the round comes to a close. He seems to have had the advantage on the feet and on the ground, so Brandon has to pull out all the stops. Fortunately, he recovers from a knee strike, wrapping up a leg to land points with the takedown. This time, he's the one on top. But not for long. Returning to his back, he reverts to defensive strategies, while Marty is all about the kill. A mostly dominant performance. Marty's reward is a jiu-jitsu belt promotion from his coaches. A budding star, already risen from the ranks of the amateur leagues, faces off against a modern-day warrior who's been a long time coming.
I used to love Samurai Saturdays on IFC, and you had Seven Samurai, Yojimbo, and like all those classic films. I love Seven Samurai. I even have the war flag tattooed on my ribs. I'm taking this pro fight right now as more of a milestone. I had an injury, and then I had some career stuff in the way, so it was where I had to take the back burner for a bit. And right now, the only focus I have is this fight. I need to just get on it. So.
Reed wastes no time to set the pace of the fight, charging in with a vengeance. Against the cage, he works for control like clockwork, until he gets the snap down and start working his elite level grab. From there, it only becomes a matter of time. A journeyman in mixed martial arts has no fear, even though he's pitted against a one-man wrecking machine. John is known for plowing through his competition, but Bubba has seen it all and is ready for war. The huge slam from John ignites the crowd, and the wrecking ball begins to swing. John apparently isn't only here to win the fight, he's also here to win the praise of the crowd, and does so with style. Bubba has to establish some kind of dominance just to get back into the fight. Turning out to be easier said than done when facing an unstoppable force. and amped up John has to be pulled away. There's no love lost between true warriors caught up in the heat of the battle. A fighter makes his way from the countryside of Brazil to face off against a traditional martial arts specialist. Mahmoud has been spending most of his adult life mastering different martial arts, but Hacienda has a different story of how he got into the cage.
Stopped watching the show, Ultimate Fighter, season 1. I was like, you know what, let me try and learn jiu-jitsu. I just went for learn jiu-jitsu and I started. Most of the time the guys wasn't sparring, they needed sparring partners. Like, I can help you guys, so we started getting beat up, so I said, might as well fight. Everybody have a goal to be UFC, Bellators. I just want to be a good fighter. I just want to have a good record down the future, open my own gym. That's all I want. Just want to be better than something.
Both fighters start looking for their range. Mahmoud spacing for kicks, and Hacienda looking to counterpunch. He starts cutting all the angles and landing all the counters. Mahmoud's expertise in judo forces Hacienda to break free of the clinch and stay ahead on the scorecard. The back and forth exchange continues on the feet, where Hacienda wants to keep landing his counters and stay out of the clinch. But suddenly, the momentum shifts. Staying in punching range turned out to be Hacienda's downfall, with Mahmoud showing that traditional martial artists are also fighters at heart. Two fighters with multifaceted striking and grappling face off in a technical display of mastery. Chris starts off the striking with his long limbs, so Ramon negates the distance and reach by closing the gap. Here is where his dynamic grappling can come into play, hooking every limb he can find with his arms and his legs until he gets the takedown. His relentless pursuit puts him into the mount position. Chris has to explode to escape from Ramon's heavy top pressure. With no submissions in sight, Ramon is happy to strike until an opening presents itself. Chris narrowly survives the opportunistic assault. He has to keep the range, where his long limbs can help him score points. But a flying knee puts him in the clinch situation he was avoiding. And remnants of the first round come back to haunt him. Ramon's heavy top pressure can no longer be easily diverted with the explosions off the cage. His one and only goal now is to create the opening to land that fight-ending submission. Having found Chris's neck, Ramon locks on to the opportunity he's been waiting for. 6 years in the making, the next fight gives an old dog one last chance of redemption. But if this is Joshua's last time in the ring, he refuses to leave without his hand being raised and his head held high. But that's one tall order, especially when faced with the man that already put him one step closer to retirement.
I want to be the best ever, and I'm going to be the best. And that's what I want, you know? I want to hold all the belts, I want to beat everyone up, you know? And I want to make my name known. Played all the sports my entire life. Freestyle, man, wrestling, boxing, grappling, jiu-jitsu, everything. All forms. I think it's going to be a good fight. I like Josh. He's a good guy. You know, we fought 5 years ago. I mean, I bloodied him up in the first round, and then I choked him out with a head and arm choke at the end of the round. And I beat him in the first round. I plan on doing the exact same thing.
Started martial arts in 1989. Currently, I'm under Roberto Travin through Carlos De Vita Oliveira, the Evolution Fight Team. This is my first pro MMA fight. We fought before about 6 years ago where he won. He got me with a head and arm choke. We get one more pro fight, and then I'm probably retiring from competing in mixed martial arts. I like to get those in and then really focus on building the school up. I have some real up-and-coming fighters, some really, really talented people, and try to put my energy into improving and developing them.
Brian comes out looking to make a point. Having won their first fight by TKO in the first round, he sees no reason why the second fight can't go the same way. Josh rallies back with everything he has. But it's starting to look like his fight career is coming to a violent end. He gains control for a brief minute until the battery continues. Or so it seems. The crafty veteran may have a trick left up his sleeve. Redemption and vindication come to those who deserve it. A last-minute replacement steps in to fight one of our spotlight fighters who grew from an amateur to an undefeated pro. But Brandon is a rare breed, taking the call when no one else would. Taking time off to fulfill his other passion of training fighters and students of the martial arts, Albert is more than happy to get back into the cage after a short layoff. Now he focuses on his new goal, not just keeping his undefeated record, but challenging himself against the toughest competition in the pro mixed martial arts circuit. An early scramble puts Albert in an unfavorable position. With a strong jiu-jitsu background, he has no fear fighting on the ground. Brandon has gone from the attacker to the defender, a state that he'll fight to get out of. Albert's reliance on his ground fighting tactic is putting him further and further ahead on the scorecard. But his strikes are just as lethal. Although he's dominant on the ground, the ref has to see more action, and the fight goes back to the feet, where Brandon uses the opportunity to take back the fight. Now with both fighters going neck and neck on the scorecard, this last round will decide if Brandon can give Albert his first professional loss. fight will be decided by a split decision. Albert narrowly keeps his undefeated record intact and continues in the world of mixed martial arts as a fighter and a teacher. A standout amateur fighter makes a long trek from Florida to Virginia for his pro debut. A powerhouse known for explosive knockouts. But unfortunately today, he's paired against a weather-worn veteran and hometown favorite. Both fighters reel with anticipation until Elijah ignites the match. Soon, the heavy hands of both men start to fly. Byron shows why. He's one of the top prospects making his pro debut tonight. But the veteran has weathered worse storms in his career and refuses to be bullied in the opening round. Byron ducks and stays to the outside, looking to counter with hooks over the top and knees in the clinch. But soon, Elijah finds his rhythm and his range, setting up a perfect 1-2 knockdown. In the sport of mixed martial arts, it only takes one good hit for the referee to call it quits, and for a veteran of the cage to ruin a promising debut. Another local hero takes on an upstart from the state of Florida. But this time, the outsider is the one that brings the experience to the cage, as Arthur Parker soon finds out, as he squares off against the exciting and explosive Martin DeVita. Martin starts low with kicks, and Arthur counters high with punches. The clinch against the cage allows Martin to work on some surprises he has in store on the ground. Arthur is able to avoid danger before he gets pulled into deep water and pulls out all the stops to make his presence known in the cage. As they go toe-to-toe, the dynamic of the fight changes in the clinch when Arthur misses a takedown, and Martin goes back to his mastery on the ground. To land the finish, he's trained a million times over. The long journey paid off, and the victory by a finish is ever so sweet. What happens when two world-class fighters finally cross paths? Nothing short of history in the making. An international champion looks to test himself against the local king of the cage.
So originally, I was fighting and getting in trouble in school, and so my master Hess, he helped me get out of trouble. I've been with my keto ever since, so this is what I do. You know, I still want to be the best at it. I'm very competitive, I go after what I want, and what I want is to just finish this fight. I'm fighting a kickboxer, and I prefer to kickbox, so I'm giving the fans what they came to see, you know what I mean?
This is the war that everyone has been waiting for. Let's see if it delivers. The fight seems evenly matched, but Umair starts to pull away with the straight counters. And mixes in high-level techniques. Not to be outdone, Ahmed reaches into his bag of tricks, only further igniting the war. There's no slowdown in sight in the second round. A few hard rights may lead to a changing point in the fight. Brief stint in the clinch is only break these two have from the back and forth onslaught. With the crowd on their feet, this fight is living up to the hype. And all these warriors have left is one more round to make history. Now Ahmed is the one, finding the most success with counter-strikes. And avoids any part of the ground game to duke it out one last time for the fans. A fight for the books, a match for the ages. This will go down as one of the greatest matchups in the history of the region. But who did enough to end up on the winning side of a split decision? It's finally time for the heavyweights to bring that hard-hitting action, to keep the crowd on their feet.
His opponent stands 6'1", weighing 263 pounds.
Jeff is looking to continue his winning streak in the promotion and bring prestige to his gym.
My home base is in Annapolis, Ivy League MMA. I've been training for a long time, about 11 years or so. Came from a wrestling background, state champion wrestler in high school, brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I've had a couple amateur kickboxing matches. It's a big opportunity. It's my second professional fight. My opponent has a lot more fights than I do, so I look at that as it's a big opportunity for me to show that I belong. I firmly believe that I have what it takes to be, a force to be reckoned with, but I got to work my way up and I got to prove it.
When you face off two Goliaths, it only takes one punch to end the night early. Keith is the first to land heavy and doesn't want to see a second round. Jeff immediately goes to his high-level jiu-jitsu to gain back some control. Keith, on the other hand, continues to smell blood, avoiding any part of the stalemate on the ground. Jeff is willing to absorb a monstrous flying knee as long as he can get the fight to the ground in a position of total control. It's not necessary for Keith to take any more bombs from the beast. The obvious winner continues his reign over the heavyweight division. And now it's time for the main event of the evening. Tim Goodwin, a name known and feared in the mixed martial arts community. Having fought on some of the big stages, he sees his opponent Chris Kane as a stepping stone for him to get back into the spotlight. Tim instantly goes on the attack. And Chris just wants to prove that he's not afraid of the terror. Chris shrugs off the first takedown by posting up against the cage, something that Tim was ready for. The ground game may turn out to be where both men are equals. As Chris tries to put fear into the heart of his opponent. They go back and forth with positions. Chris fights hard to keep Tim from passing the guard and advancing to a dominant position. So Tim tries to go in a different direction and starts to hunt for back control, wisely using strikes as a setup to pass. Chris stays active, but unfortunately so does Tim, whose road to victory gets cut short by the bell. Unfazed, Chris continues to move forward. And now it's his turn to look to pass and find dominance on the ground. He circles around both ways until he finds an opening for the back mount. Tim's attempt to escape gives Chris an opportunity to move into one of the rarest positions in mixed martial arts, setting up an even rarer submission that few have mastered and even less have used in the cage, showing that Chris is nobody's stepping stone. He is a true martial artist whose years of training have finally come to fruition. Stay tuned for the next season of Highlight Fights as we continue to cross the country, looking for the best fighters and organizations. Until next time, we'll see you in the cage.